Ole, ole, ole. Ole, ole, ole. Ole, ole, ole.
Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and anybody else who is joining me here today. This is the Sheff United Way match reaction, and we're looking back on a positive, a frustrating, a weird afternoon where we have managed to continue our unbeaten streak away at Portsmouth, but the 0-0 draw, it is a good result, but there were so many nearly moments that you can't help but feel just a little bit frustrated coming out of it, that there was potentially more on offer there for United. Now, if I'm being honest, overall, I think the draw was a fair result. I don't think either team has done enough, has created enough, has really had the chances to say that they should be hard done to or that they deserve to win the game. So I think a draw is definitely reasonable. But both teams will probably still say they did have chances where they thought maybe, just a maybe moment. It feels like it's a game of maybes and nearlies and close, but not quite there. United had a fantastic chance in the first half where I'm looking back on that and I'm thinking, oh, you put your header anywhere else, Gus. You've probably scored. It's 1-0. Brings a fantastic save from the keeper. But again, it's close. It's nearlies. And similarly, Portsmouth will probably be thinking, it weren't a chance, but they had that fantastic effort in the first half where Cooper's had to make an absolute worldie of a save to keep it out. And it's just one of them days, I think, where it's frustrating. It's a weird game of football to have watched, but a draw you have to be fair with. I think it's a good point. I think Portsmouth are so much better than what it looks like on paper right now. They might be just up from League One. They might have had a poor start to the season, not getting any wins on the board yet, but they've had a horror run of fixtures and they're playing well. They've had some really good performances. They were unlucky to lose at Burnley, to only draw with Leeds. So I think as we look back on this at the end of the season, it'll be a really good point away at Fratton Park. And that's not something United get very often. We have a terrible record when going away to Portsmouth. So looking at that sort of context, Portsmouth are a better team than we thought. And as well, it's another clean sheet. 4 clean sheets in a row for a team that conceded as many goals as we did last year. That's just confidence building week after week. It's so much better to see a team and think, yeah, you know what? I don't think we are going to concede. I've got so much confidence in that partnership of Anel and Suter. They just look strong. They look compact and nobody's ever really looking like breaking us down, like getting through us. So there's a lot of positives coming out of that, particularly defensively, about a great point and a great performance for us away from home again. However, as I've kind of alluded to, it's tinged with frustration for those nearly moments because there are so many times where we could have taken the lead, where we've put a ball in the box and we could have got on the end of it, but we didn't quite get there. The quality is very much there. We know that we've got the quality running through this team. You look at some of those players, Moore, Harmer, O'Hare, Raksake, coming off the bench, you've got Brooks, you've got Campbell. You're looking at a lot of these players. So we know that the quality is there. But it's games like today where when you can't just guarantee that Harmer's going to score from 30 yards, you can't guarantee he's going to do something special. We need to have a little bit more of that structure. And I think it's about the players getting familiar with each other. I think as time goes on, we'll see a lot more familiarity with each other's game, with what runs they're making, what the movement looks like, where they want the ball. But games like today, it's just a little bit frustrating to see it all nearly be there, but never quite pay off, never quite come together, and ultimately never quite be enough to see us really take the lead and deserve to win the game. We saw somebody in our comments the other day for the preview. They called our back four the Fantastic Four, and that's completely fair. But unfortunately, at the moment, I feel like we've got a little bit of a misfiring four up front, and we just need to get that click. And once they click, we have got such a good team because, my God, I mean, I'm saying that it's not quite clicked yet. We're still unbeaten as we go into October. We're 6th in the league. We have won a majority of our games so far, and it's minor things that we're calling out now because once that clicks, we are going to be so good. And it looks like they're not that far away. So just have a little bit of patience with that front four because it is frustrating in days like today, but there's a lot to come from them. And I've got a lot of confidence that they're going to deliver a really good season for us and be really exciting to watch at the same time. But let's get stuck into today's game. So first of all, the pre-game team news was that there wasn't really any team news. We don't know how long Arblaster's going to be out for, and that meant we just went with exactly the same 11 we had last week. We even had the same subs, so it's exactly the same squad of players week to week, which can only be a positive in terms of us getting that fluidity I was talking about before. I did feel that Andre Brooks could maybe be a little bit hard done to. You know, I talked about this in the preview. I thought maybe he did deserve the start for the way that he's been having an impact on game, while Raksaki's been a little bit slow to start. But Raksaki looked good today. I thought today was probably his best game for United. I thought he really had their fullback on toast for a lot of the first half. And all of our good moments, anything where we did look like creating a chance, it was generally coming down his wing. Now, if we go through the game sort of as it happened, the first half, it was even, if we're being honest. Neither team, it's exactly what I said about the game as a whole. It was just there in the first half as well. Neither team was able to really get control of it. I thought Portsmouth maybe started the better, then United came into it and looked better as the half went on. Portsmouth had 25,000 corners, I think, something like that. It just felt like corner. And they never once looked like scoring off them in that first half. They never really created a chance on it. I think in the entire game, they create one chance off a corner, which is a massive chance at the end of the game. But we dealt with them so well. It's that strength, that coordination, what we've got in our defence, which we know is just so strong. We've got Cooper and that back four just dealing with everything they had to throw at us. Now, they did get the first chance in the game. Was sloppy from us. Suter hadn't quite made his tackle. Vinny then bottled his tackle, and it meant that they got a man running in on goal, but his shot was relatively weak. It was well saved by Cooper, pushing it out wide. And that was it. That was basically all that Portsmouth managed to get from the entire first half. Whereas United, we did come into it then. Like I say, after 20 minutes, we got a foothold in the game, and we really should have been 1-0 up. It's a fantastic chance for Gus Harmer. So this was a lovely play. Now, Alfie Gilchrist, spoiler alert, was probably my man of the match. I thought he was outstanding. But he gets the ball, he wins it high in their half, clips a lovely pass down the wing for Raksaki. Raksaki's running in. He actually, for the first time that I've seen him in a United shirt, takes a moment, has a breath, and picks out the perfect cross for Gus Harmer at the back post. And everyone's just waiting for the net to bulge. You're just waiting to see that net ripple because he's got to find it. And unfortunately, the keeper makes a fantastic save. He covers so well. He's coming across his goal, dives back, claws it out. And it's a brilliant save from the keeper's perspective. But I do think that Harmer has got to do just a little bit better to hit the back of the net there. And that should have been 1-0. But it's a fantastic sign for United of how that was starting to come together. We then got another chance again coming down that side from Raksaki. This time he plays a lovely ball with Souza. So if Souza breaks forward, he's taking it on, passes it down the wing to Raksaki. Raksaki stands his man up, beats him, and then finds a little bit of space, lays it into Souza. But Souza's effort just over the bar. And to be honest, never really looked like going in the back of the net because he never quite had that confidence as he was striking the ball coming onto it. We then get a chance off one of their corners. So this is what we saw against Hull, that United are a fantastic counter-attacking team, that when other teams are pushing everybody forward, they're getting corners. We've got a little bit now where we're going to hit them on the break, and we nearly saw another one of those where we got them broke 2-on-2. This time it's Burrows and Harmer rather than O'Hare and Harmer. And Burrows just delays before releasing his pass. This time it forces Harmer a bit too wide, and we aren't able to create the goal-scoring opportunity that we've seen in previous weeks. And that's a bit of that fluidity I'm talking about today, where we got into those nearly opportunities, those good positions, and just never quite delivered that final ball the way that we really wanted to see them come together. There were another couple of bits where you've got O'Hare free in the box, chooses to take a touch and pass rather than shoot. And it's those kind of things where you just can't quite get there. You're thinking we're close, but we're just not on it. We then went into a little bit of farce because Anel got booked for tying his shoelaces. I've never seen that before. He heads it out for a corner. He goes, ref, 1 second, I'm just going to tie my shoelace. Ref just tells Portsmouth to play on because I don't know. And then the ball goes out again, and the ref goes, and Anel goes, ref, I'm tying my shoelace. Can you give me a minute? And ref books him. I just could not fathom what he was doing there, but that was just sort of the start of some of the referee madness that was to come at the end of the game, because he clearly just not really got a full handle on what he was trying to do there. The first half ended with a fantastic save from Michael Cooper. Now, this isn't a Portsmouth chance. They've not broken us apart. They've not created anything. They've just got a free kick just inside United's half. It's really quite deep. So a lovely angle for a whipped cross into the box. He whips it in. They go to attack it in the middle, and everybody just misses it. It bounces, and it's going right in the top corner. And the reaction from Cooper is seeing this late. He's waiting for a touch from the striker, from a defender. So he has to react so quickly. And it's a fantastic save, clawing it out of the top corner, keeping the game at 0-0 as we go into half time. Now, ultimately, I said at the time, oh, first half were a bit dull. I then watched the second half, and I don't think the first half was that dull at all. There was moments for both teams. There were chances that were starting to come together. Whereas in the second half, that was a lot more cagey. I thought United had a lot more control in this second half. We had a lot more of the ball. We were playing it okay. I think there was a little bit of that sort of sloppiness coming into some of the passing. Portsmouth were trying to press high, and they really did come at us with speed sometimes. But we did keep them at arm's length, managed to completely keep them out. But unfortunately, we did that without really looking too dangerous ourselves. Now, we had a few half chances. There's a Harmer one off a corner. Sidney Peck's delivery on corners, by the way. That looks good. Just as an aside, that looks good. I like that. So if Sidney Peck's going to keep taking them corners, I'm more than happy with it. And he took one in the second half right at the start, puts it right on the keeper who can't quite get enough on it to push it away. And it falls to Harmer, and you think, right, the form that Harmer's in, he's smashing these in for fun. It's a bit high, it's a bit wide. He doesn't quite control it the way that you would expect. And that kind of sums up what happened for the rest of the second half, where we were in a good position, but couldn't quite find the moment we needed to be able to take the lead. Moore had a header, puts it on target, but it's really weak. He did the best he could, heading back away from goal, but it's really difficult. And that's really as much as we created until the subs. You know, we then did O'Hare for Brewster, Raksaki for Brooks. Now, I'm going to bring up one of the comments that we've got here, because I think this sums up something that's completely different to everything I believe. And I do not mean to call you out for this, Beast Boy. Brewster, very good when he came on, and Brewster and Campbell are better than O'Hare and Moore. Now, I will read verbatim the notes that I've written down when we put Brewster on. And I think it's just because it's quite funny, really, to look at the difference of comparisons. We had one in our group chat where the Patreon members all got together. We were talking about the game, and somebody said, oh, is it just me who's still excited when Brewster comes on? And I said, yes, I think he's rubbish. Why do we still keep giving him a chance? He's making us worse whenever we put him on. Now, actually, today, I think that was harsh. I don't think he did make us any worse, but I do think that we keep persevering with him and giving him chances that, to be honest, from my perspective now, I'm done with. I don't really want to see him get any more. He's not involved in games. He doesn't create chances. He doesn't score goals. I'm not sure what he does do that's actually any use to Sheffield United at this time. He's a fantastic cheerleader, though, celebrating goals, celebrating wins. I want to see him there. I love to see him happy and celebrating with us, but unfortunately, he's just not offered anywhere near enough on the pitch for me for him to still be the first sub that we're making in a game that's 0-0. We need somebody who's going to have an impact. And for me, he's just not that man. We followed that up with quite another quick sub. Now, in the middle of this, there'd been a medical issue in the crowd. Now, the commentary that I'd got said that the medical issue had been resolved and that the member was still in the crowd and that they'd been okay. But we do want to wish them our best. In case I've not got that right, if they have had to have sort of further treatment, just wishing all the best to that sort of supporter in the crowd. Hopefully they're okay, and hopefully they'll be able to come back and watch football again when Portsmouth are next at home, because that's a lot more important than what happens in a game of football. That took a lot of the momentum out of the game. And so United were just sort of ticking the game over at this point. It's just happening where no one's creating chances. No one's got a massive amount of control. And then United make more subs. Siriki comes on for Gilchrist. Now, as I said before, thought Gilchrist was my man of the match. But when Siriki comes on, he does at least give us a bit more impetus going forwards. He has a really good effort where maybe he could do better. He doesn't quite connect properly. And it's a relatively comfortable save for the keeper. But it's another sign that Gilchrist, for all the fantastic stuff he does defensively, maybe that extra impetus that Siriki gives us going forward is really important for late in games when we're trying to chase them, when we're trying to create those opportunities to try and get us a goal. And then the final sub, Kieffer Moore off, Tyrese Campbell on. And that's important because Campbell does have a chance. And I just spoke really badly about Ryan Brewster, but he does well to fathom this chance. He plays a lovely ball in for Tyrese Campbell. He's a bit wide. He's not got a great angle in terms of trying to get this shot off on goal. And it's a relatively comfortable save for the keeper. But that's pretty much as close as United get, really. We don't push them. We don't create anymore. As the game comes to a death, we're not the ones who are pushing forward to create a chance, because Portsmouth have another one of these runs where they get corner after corner, and right in the 90th minute, they whip a corner in, and it's a free header for the lad right in the middle of the box. He's managed for the first time all day. We've dealt with every corner. We've dealt with every attack they've had, but for the first time all day, he gets free, 90th minute. All he's got to do is hit the target, but he gets his header all wrong, and United do live to fight another day on that one. I thought this was a fantastic chance for them. I thought he really had to do better. Puts it just over the bar. And that's that. We get there. It's 0-0. It's full time. Or is it full time? Is it a foul? Have they just stopped a fantastic break where we're trying to run forward? Their lads just took us out really cynically. You probably should book him and then let United take a free kick to get forward. Oh, no, that's not what you're going to do at all, ref. What you're going to do is United are on the break, running forward. Their lad takes us out. For some reason, you book Vinny Souza because that makes all kinds of sense. And then you don't even blow for full time. You just decide that must be full time. So don't worry about it, lads. Everybody off. Bizarre, absolutely bizarre piece of refereeing. And that bizarre piece of refereeing then kicks on into a much wider issue where the players are confused. There's a lot of arguing going on, and it ends up in a little bit of a brawl where all the players are in together. Now it's a football brawl. So, let's not get too excited. It's not like we're going to watch. It's not UFC. These handbags, but it's still one of those things where it was completely unnecessary. There was no need for there to be any kind of animosity, any kind of brawl, and it's all caused by the referee just completely losing his head about what he was trying to do at the end of the game. If you're blown for full time, make it clear you're blown for full time. If you're going to let somebody just go out and take you out on a counter, then give him a yellow card. You don't just let these things run on and book the wrong team. It was just a bizarre way to end the game, and I thought it left a really bad taste in the mouth, particularly when United had actually got themselves into a pretty good position and we were breaking forward, and maybe it's unlikely we would have created something, but it would have been nice to have been given the chance rather than having that cynically stopped. So that was quite a frustrating end to the game. But 0-0, as I say, I think probably was the fair result. We've gone through a few of the chances there, but none of them were big. The game ends 0.56 XG for Portsmouth, 0.53 for United. And I think that just about sums up the fact that 0-0 probably fair. You can round up and say 1-1 would be fair if you want, but I think that's by the by. So for me, if we look at some of the individual performances, I thought this was Raksaki's best game for United. I thought that first half, he'd really dominated his fullback. I thought all the good things United were doing in terms of creating chances was coming down his side. And it's the first time I've seen him really have a little bit of end product. He was taking a moment. He was making sure he was picking the right pass rather than just rushing through a ball across goal. And so that was really positive to see, really encouraging. Hopefully we see more of that from him. But as I say, the standout play for me was completely Alfie Gilchrist. Now, all of Portsmouth's threat comes down their left-hand side and it comes through, I think it's Josh Murphy, but it could be Jacob. It's one of the Murphy brothers. All of their threat comes down that side. He's a fantastic footballer. He's played in the Premier League. He's played everywhere. He's gone for, I think, 11 million quid at one point in his career. He's a lovely footballer. And Gilchrist just completely shut him down. He made sure he wasn't creating anything. They were trying to find him so often in the first half. And if he ever even did get half a space, Gilchrist is diving in to make the block. He's pushing him wide. He's forcing him out. He's chasing it down so that we're giving throw-ins instead of corners. I thought it was a really committed defensive display from him. And he was massively the standout for me. I really thought he impressed me. I thought that he shut down the biggest avenue that they had to try and create a goal. And so it meant that when they were going forwards, we dealt with them so comfortably because their best player was just a complete non-event. And so that was great to see. It's a fantastic performance from him. I'm getting really excited the more I see him. Never fall in love with a lone player. Well, I'm already there. I love you, Alfie. So, yes, that's the game. Let's come to some of your comments. Let's see what you thought about the game today. Let's see where we went. What does Okie Blade think? Subs came on, but style of play didn't change. 2 up front has to be tried, but can the midfield cope if we play 4-4-2? Now, this is a really good question, and I actually think this is a really interesting one to think about United's tactical shape this season. United have got a very clear midfield structure. We've got Gus Harmer, who's coming out on the left, but then moving central, and he's sort of interchanging with O'Hare, where they're starting in opposite positions, O'Hare central, Haim on the left. But then they dovetail together to try and fill that same half space where they're trying to create through and link up together to try and really break down the defence. It also gives Burrows the space to come up down the left-hand side. Now, you pair that with the quite wide we've got on the right-hand side, Raksaki or Brooks, who'd like to hug their wing, really try and get down the outside. You then got quite a packed central area of either Blaster or Peck with Souza, and then these two who are both sort of central left. I do think a 4 could work, but I think it'd have to be a really packed midfield in a diamond 4. I'm not sure you could really make it work with the flat sort of structure that we try to have, particularly wanting to go wide. So it's a really difficult one. I also struggle a little bit with knowing what the 2 would be. I think it'd have to be Moore and Campbell. I'd definitely like to see it. I think there's definitely something interesting involved in there, but I do think there's a chance we'd get overrun. Now, it's another booking for Vinny Souza today, and this is the other sort of fly in the ointment, as they like to call it, is that Souza's picked up a lot of bookings so far this season. He's not far off a suspension. If our Blaster's out and Souza's out, we probably have to play 4 in midfield because we've not got any more players. All of our midfielders are currently on the pitch. There's a reason we don't make that many subs in terms of, O'Hare's coming off for Brewster. We're taking off a midfielder for a striker effectively, because we've just not got any midfielders left. So I do think if we get suspensions, we probably will want to try something a little bit different. And it might be that has to be a 4 in midfield. But how that works, I don't know. I would be worried about being overrun, I have to say. Dublin Blade, a point away is always a good point. And this is a fantastic point. You know, away from home, what they say is if you want to get promoted to the Championship, win at home, draw away. 2 points a game. That's generally going to be enough to have you right up there in the mix. It's a 92-point season. Most seasons, that gets you promoted. And that's very much in line with most of what United have done so far this year. We've got a few more wins away from home. And so every time that we're going to get there, any point like this is hard fought, it's hard earned. You don't have any right to win the Championship. So you can't complain, even if it's a bit frustrating at times. Looking here, and this is the one that sort of comes back to something I was talking about earlier with the link up in the final third. And there is a little bit of a worry there for me as well. I'm a bit concerned about how we get more involved in the game, how we get him really attacking crosses, how we get him on the end of chances, because his link up's really good. He's starting to bring players in, but we don't have that fluidity. We're not getting him involved in the right areas, but that also means that we're not getting anybody really involved in those areas. So I do want to see a bit more from us going forwards, but it's definitely one of those things where I think we can probably say it will come with time. And I've got a lot of confidence that we will be able to create that chance. Here we go. We've then got a very strong opinion coming in from this Sheffield United fan that Moore is awful. Now, I'm going to be honest, in my private conversations I've had with my dad and with others, I have been on Moore's back a little bit. It's frustrated me so far this season because we've not got him involved in the game, but it comes back to that point I was just making before, where we need to give him the chances in the way he wants them. At the minute, he's getting chances either running off the back of a defender and trying to run forwards. That's not his game. He's not fast enough. He's not agile and quick. He's not got skill. He's a penalty box striker who wants headers. He wants balls into the box. He wants to be there to pick up on those balls in the middle of the box, just taking his chances, finding the corners, and is a finisher. We're not giving him that chance yet. So all we're seeing is his hold-up play. I think his hold-up play is excellent. I think in terms of getting the ball forward, him being able to take it on his chest, involve others, don't think it worked today. Today wasn't his best game for that. But I think over the season, he's been really good at that. And it's been really great to see the way that he can link the play using those skills. But we just haven't got him anywhere near involved. In his final ball, he's been out on the wing. He's never been involved in goal-scoring positions. And that's really been a disappointment for me. I want to see more of that from him. I want to see him involved going forwards. Defensively, he's excellent, heads every corner. Up front, he's holding the ball up, but he's just not impacting the game where we need him to. And that's with goals, that's with assists. And I'd like to see more of him than that. But I certainly wouldn't go as far as to say he's awful, because I do think there's a really good player there. He just needs to find that spot. Hal, the ref made it all about him again. I talked about this ref in the preview, and he's a ref who loves to send United players off. His highest red cards per game was for players who play for Sheffield United. He'd given numerous penalties against us. He very clearly has something against United. And I think that was really epitomised today with some of the weird bookings and decisions that he was giving. And at the end, of course, we're going to get fined for that. We will get fined for yet another brawl at the end of the game. And it's all come from the ref just wanting to be the centre of attention with a real smug look on his face. But that might have just been my stream. And I don't like refs. Sue me. That's where we go. Okie Blade. Peck's a talent, but he leaves us a bit open when he goes box to box. Arblaster, more of a playmaker. I think that's a really interesting sort of discussion point around the tactics. And I think Okie Blade's picked up on something fantastic there in terms of Peck's role compared to Arblasters and how they play that role in such a different way. Peck does like to get us a lot further forward. He likes to be involved in play. He likes to be trying to be a bit of a driving force, which does mean that behind him, there is space for teams like Portsmouth in particular. They were really quick in terms of how they wanted to get out and push up against us. They wanted their front three to be up and high. They wanted to press onto our defence. And it meant that actually there was a little bit of an imbalance between Peck and Sousa in terms of how they were coming forward. The other side of that is that Peck's got a lovely delivery and he's really good at finding space, finding those passes. I'm always impressed with his strength on the ball. When someone's trying to come and just bully him off it, the strength he's got in his upper body to really shield the ball and play forward is a real talent and a skill. So it's interesting that there is a massive dynamic difference between how those two play in that central midfield role. And it does affect the way that United go forward. And I do think that Arblaster ultimately will be the first choice, but I'm really excited by Peck and what he can offer to us. And I actually think that later in the season, we've talked about sort of the lack of depth we've got through our midfield. We are probably going to need Sadie Peck and Arblaster to play together at times. I'm really interested in how that comes together, because rather than the deeper sitting Sousa next to Arblaster, we might have two players who are a little bit more mobile going forwards, a little bit more involved in the game. And while Blaster will be the playmaker, I think the way they link together will be really exciting. So I'm interested in how that one comes together. Now, the last one, and it's fair to have one last comment, and it's fair for it to be somebody coming in to defend Kieffer Moore. Now, Cal is a fantastic man who was always watching the Blades, and his son is soon going to be United's number one. Keep an eye out for Callum's little lad. He's still a kid, let's be honest. I think he was, Cal, I've out of myself here. I can't remember how old they are. 11. Let's go 11, probably younger. But they're going to be United's number one in a few years, so keep an eye out, because West is a name that you're going to need to know. But he makes a good point about Moore, and I think this is it. I think he is really important at the minute to link in play, to letting the attackers come up behind him and really get involved in the game, to really try and get the most out of Harmer, of O'Hare, of Raksake. We need the version of Kieffer Moore who's doing what he does in terms of holding the play, laying it off, and trying to get others involved in the game. We just need to get him more involved, get him driving forwards, and really be important. And I'll give Cal the last word, because it's his nephew and he's 7. So I'm just talking out my backside. Right. Thank you so much, everybody, for sticking with me today, for watching this one. It wasn't the most entertaining of games away at Portsmouth, but it was a good point. And with that game today, we are still unbeaten as we tick off another month into the calendar. We've got through August, we've got through September, and now we are into October. We've had a very positive start to the season. We're 6th after 7 games, and let's just hope it keeps going. Let's hope we can keep this sort of momentum that is building around United. Let's keep that defensive structure, that solidity, and let's just add a few more goals and a bit more dynamism up front. It has been great chatting this through with you all. It always makes me feel better. Thank you so much for watching, and let's hope the run continues midweek against Swansea. Up the Blades.
Ole, ole, ole. Ole, ole, ole.